You know, there's got to be an easier way of doing this. I'm getting just a bit too old for crawling under sinks. It's the kind of job that a lot of plumbers run a mile from, changing over a set of sink taps or basin taps. You'd think if they could put a man on the moon, the boffins could come up with an easier way of fitting a set of kitchen or basin taps. Well, at long last somebody has. Bristan have come up with the Easyfit range of sink and basin taps, which allow you to work faster and smarter. And I'm going to show you just how easy they are to fit, with the majority of the work being done from the top of the sink or basin. That's something that's never been possible before. So what I've done is a mock-up here so that the camera can get in and see exactly what I'm doing. And if you think that you're at the wall and I'm at the front of the sink, I'm going to show you just how easy it is to fit these taps. Now it's time to connect up the pipework, and you can see why I wanted to do it on a mock-up rather than a real kitchen. It's so much easier for you to see what's going on. The connection is made by screwing these two straight into the tails on the tap. The O-ring is the seal, but don't use any kind of silicone or plumber's sealant or tape on that. That O-ring will do the job just on its own. If you use silicone, all that happens is you lubricate that O-ring and it turns out. So it's just a matter of doing that. If you're using an adjustable spanner, it's best to adjust the spanner to the right size before you put the tails on. And as with all taps, those two connectors under there are quite close together. So if you don't want to connect up underneath, you can just simply take that out. Thread one of your flexi tails up through the hole and then make the connection above the sink. It's a lot easier. Just spanner that up slightly just to make sure that we're tight. As I say, nothing crazy, don't overdo it with these, that's fine. Just to nip that O-ring in place, pop that back in there, job done. And at the other end we've got the washers are already in the back nuts, so we can just screw straight on to an ordinary isolating valve, which will get us into our 15mm plumbing. It's always a good idea to put an isolating valve on the hot and on the cold, so that at any time in the future, excuse me. So any time in the future, if you need to turn off the water, supposing you want to change the taps over. And of course, the great thing about these taps is that when it comes to doing things like siliconing and tiling, you can leave the tops of the taps off. So while you're carrying out that tiling and siliconing, you can take the taps off and pop those away in the box to keep them safe, and also pop on the little protective shroud on top to prevent any rubbish going down the pipes or the O-rings being damaged. And if in the future your customer wants to change the taps for another model in the Easyfit range, that's a very simple switching over job. That will take you minutes to do. Now I know what you're thinking, that's all very well for fitting the taps. Bristan have made that a lot easier to do, but what about all those millions of old taps out there which we're still going to have to struggle to remove? Well, you can't change history. I'm afraid that until some bright spark comes up with another brilliant idea for removing the taps, then we're just stuck with a little bit of struggle. But for future generations of plumbers, thanks to Bristan's Easy Fit range and their forward-thinking the job's going to be an awful lot easier.